Well, hello again, another challenge. A big run of challenges recently, but I love them because I get to go back and look at what I have. So this challenge is for CRA diecast. It's about race and rally cars. And I pulled together 14 models that I haven't shown in a while, or it's a preview of some reviews to come. So they're not necessarily the greatest race cars, but they might have an interesting story, relative to the history of racing. I'm going to try to go in alphabetical order here, or roughly. Let's see, I'm going to start with this Aston Martin here. So it's 1/64 scale, it's made by Kyosho. So this is an LMP racer, and it competed in around 2009. It's possible that this actually won the 24 Hours of Le Mans, but correct me if I'm wrong. I consider LMP racing to be the greatest form of road-based racing because they're 24-hour endurance events. So that's a lot of hardship on a vehicle and the drivers. Okay, let's do that. Put on the black one there. Okay, so the next one is by Hot Wheels. It's an Audi Quattro. Now, Audi, they pioneered all-wheel drive systems for regular passenger cars. So without this Quattro and without it competing, most supercars today, or even your average family car, might not have all-wheel drive. It would have been left to just trucks, right? So I think that's a significant part of automotive history, not just racing history. All right, I did some 3D wheels on that one if you're curious. So this is out of scale. It's made by Tiny, and it's an Austin Mini Cooper from the 1969, I believe, this registration. So the Austin Mini Coopers were the David and Goliath story of the rally racing. In the mid-60s to the late 60s, this thing won the Monte Carlo Rally for 4 years straight. And this was going up against a 6-cylinder and 8-cylinder engine vehicles. But this is just a tiny, almost like a golf cart sized vehicle, and yet it won. Technically it was disqualified 1 year for bad filaments in its light bulbs, but I think it won the race. Okay, so yeah, Tiny did an alright job. Unfortunately, maybe it's 155 scale. It doesn't actually say on the bottom. But I would really love it if a premium brand did this in 164. Like, even if Greenlight did it in 164, I would definitely buy it. But for now, it's going to have to do in this larger size. If this stuff entertains you, it does have opening doors. And I think it has an opening engine as well. Yeah, it does. Well, whatever. It's not. I don't find it to be that great to look at, but the outside looks great. I mean, let's face it. It's a clown car. But they drive like go-karts. I used to have one of these. A classic Cooper. No, a classic Mini Mayfair. But I dressed it up to look like this, or close to it. And the thing, even just a Mini Mayfair 1100, that thing handled like a go-kart. So it was a fun car. Okay, so the next one is the only F1 car here, and Ferrari I think is probably the most celebrated brand in F1 history. All modern F1 cars look the same, but here in the 70s, this is the 1979 312 T4. They were still figuring things out, and this is just such a unique looking F1 car. I mean, look at this weird wing. It looks like it's just gonna snap off. It's got this strange, like, cantilevered nose, like a strange shark or something. It looks like one of those deep sea sharks that's really ugly to look at, but it's really funky looking. So yeah, it's nice. Okay, so let's get into some Grand GT racing. This is for Japanese JGTC Grand Touring Championship there. And this is a Lamborghini. It's a JLOC version, the Japanese Lamborghini Owners Club. I guess this thing was running in 2004 and made by Kyosho here. And I just think it's nice that, you can be a wealthy person and go racing. Sadly, I am not one of those people, but I'm at least able to buy a little miniature of the car itself. So. What is next? The first purpose-built rally car was the Lancia Stratos, to my understanding. Correct me if I'm wrong. But without, this thing, the rally racing probably wouldn't have been as popular as it was. I believe in the 70s, rally racing was considered the most popular form of motorsports because normal people could actually race. Normal people could buy an Austin Mini Cooper and go racing, right, for not much money. But by this time frame here, 1975, the mid 70s, I guess, Lancia just looked at the rule books and said, we're going to just win. So they built this thing to win, and they did. So this one is made by CMs. Now I know, just a little heads up, guys, Mini GT has released some photos of the, prototypes. And that'll be an interesting comparison. I'm definitely going to buy it whenever they release it. And we'll see a comparison and see if they can beat this guy, the CMs. It's gonna be tough. I mean, this thing has 6 plastic headlights going on, right? Oh, but Mini GT will probably have air passing between the wheels, so they'll be better there for sure. This has plastic taillights as well, and sadly that exhaust tip broke off. These are all out of production CMs, so you gotta buy them used off eBay. Get what you can when you can. Okay. So for club racing, and of an earlier era, this is a Lotus 11. It's a somewhat unattractive vehicle, or maybe leave a comment. Do you think this is a good-looking car? I don't think it really is. This thing was running between 1955 and 1958. This model is listed as a La Festa, or it's made by Yao Modellini. It's not the greatest model, to be honest with you, but it's the only model I think of a Lotus 11 of this quality. So I guess it would be considered the best 1/64 scale Lotus 11, unless you can leave a comment telling me otherwise. But for now, I'm going to live with this. But anyways, this car was really successful in its day for winning most of its classes, and entered racing in. It competed at the international level as well. So, Lotus Cars, Colin Chapman was the founder. He believed in just making everything as light as possible because physics, he understood the principles of physics. The lighter it is, the better something handles. Okay. Alright, so you can't have something about race cars without what I think is the greatest car ever made. It's the Mclaren F1. This is a resin model. Sorry, I can't really focus on it. Alright. It's made by Scale Mini. And so Gordon Murray designed this thing as a road car, a uncompromised road car, which is why it has a central seating position. But it was so well engineered that with very few modifications, this thing entered the 24 Hours of Le Mans and won it outright against purpose-built, Le Mans prototype racers. So that's a really great feat of engineering that doesn't happen very often, and frankly, it may never happen again. So, okay, it's all right. The only thing wrong with this one is the wheels aren't very accurate to the real car, but it has a whole lot of details that one would expect for a resin model. So it's definitely still one of the prizes in my collection. Now, whether or not that's going to fit on here, maybe not. Yeah, sorry, that's not going to fit. Okay, so I'm going to enter one cartoon car. This is a resin model also, and this is the Mercedes-Benz 190E. So this is representing the touring car class of racing. In particular, this is the DTM, the German touring car championship. But I'm sure it competed in the British championship, maybe the Australian championship, I'm not sure. But touring car racing is still popular today, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. But anyways, this is a cartoon version, and yet it has pretty much the same amount of details as the regular 190Es that you would see from the regular 1/64 scale manufacturers. The only thing missing is an interior. It just has blacked out windows because I think it's just one solid piece of resin plastic, the majority of the body here. But you can see the star emblem there. It has reflective side mirrors, and then the headlights and taillights are clear plastic. So it's quite fascinating. I love these cartoon cars. Alright. Okay, let's represent Nissan here. So this is representing the Japan Grand Prix, and so this is called the, I don't even remember, R3382. Is that what it says? I'm looking through my camera screen. It's a little small, but I guess it competed in 1969, and it's a Group 7 racer. Most people don't realize that this had a V12 engine, a 6-liter, I forget how many liters, I could be wrong, but I think it had a 600 horsepower V12 engine. So, yeah, Nissan, they experimented around with some crazy power plants. And this to me, it looks like a Can-Am racer, you know? It doesn't look, it's just a unique shape to its styling, so that's why I threw it in there. It doesn't look like any of the other road racers. Okay, so yeah, Porsche. You can't have something without a Porsche in it. And so I think, the 911s are some of the most successful race cars ever. You know, people have raced 911s in dirt rally racing, road racing. This is made by Sparky, by the way. The box says Sparky, but here it says Spark. And so anyways, it's a RSR. So GT racing, boy, they've had hybrid versions of these things. So the 911 has been pretty much put in every iteration of racing and been relatively successful in every iteration of racing. On-road, off-road, whatever. Experimental. So that's why it's in here. Alright, so we're going to switch to 187 scale because I don't get to show these off too often. This is made by Spark Model and it's 187 scale. This thing won the Monte Carlo Rally in 1981, as it says there. The Renault 5 Turbo is just a cool looking car. I mean, it's based on an economy car, but they, I believe, switched the engine to the rear to make it a mid-engined car, and then it went rally racing. But look at this thing. I mean, this thing's 187 scale, and it just blows away most things in larger scales. This rear wiper blade has lightning holes in it. I'm going to try to get in on that. It's a photoized piece of metal with lightning holes. It's for the rear wiper blade. It has clear, tiny pieces there. I guess maybe those are reflectors next to the license plate. The vent work there. I think those are tiny clear pieces in the bumper, those reflectors. Look how tiny they are. I gotta get the dental pick. This thing is so ridiculously small. So the tip of this is meant to floss your teeth. Look at this tiny piece of plastic in there. So how is it this thing has a tiny clear reflector and yet 164s very often just have paint? You know? It's got two hair thin antennas hanging off the thing. And then the front end, it's got 4 clear fog lights, and then these orange fog lights, and then it has 4 clear headlights. Right? That's just nuts. I mean, this thing has 8 pieces of plastic to represent the 8 lights up front. And then look at the windshield wiper blades again. Lightning holes. Amazing. Let's see if I can get on the interior. It's not just plain black. I mean, why does Hobby Japan just have a plain black interior? Right? This thing has colorful pieces on the interior, and it has an instrument cluster. Right? That's just crazy. It has a rear view mirror with a reflector. It has 2 different colored seats. Okay, well anyways. Yeah, it's just astounding what Spark Model has did with these things. It's a real shame. I used to have like 50 of these things, and I sold the majority of them off like 10, 15 years ago. I'm a fool. I should have kept all of them because no one has beaten these guys. You'll see how old it is. This decal is cracking. Alright, anyways. So yeah, that's a keeper. That's a keeper for a model right there. Just look at the size difference, right? 187 scale. Alright, so I have a Shelby Cobra here. You know, because the story of Carroll Shelby is just awesome. I mean, he took a British sporty car and then shoehorned a V8 into it and made it a monster. And then later on, you know, he helped Ford win Le Mans, you know. But instead of putting a GT40 into this mix, this is what I think of when I think of Carroll Shelby. You know, a GT40, I think of a GT40 first, and then I think Carroll Shelby had a hand in that. But when I see this car, I just think Carroll Shelby and the story behind him. So that's why this one is here. Alright, the last one is by Toyota. It's a Toyota Cresta. So, drift racing. I like drift racing. I used to have a bunch of 1/10 scale drift RC cars, and they're really cool, by the way. If you can get like a all-wheel drive one in a nice parking lot, you can have a lot of fun just drifting RC cars. Now I have like a 24 scale that I run indoors, which is still fun, but it's not as cool as a 10 scale because you can see the inertia with the larger RCs. But anyways, so this is made by Aoshima. It's part of their Grachan collection. It's their latest Grachan series called the Grachan Collection 13. But this is a special set called a Ken box, and this is one of 2 cars that came in that Ken box. So it's got this crazy like Falcon type of livery, and the paint job is just nice. I mean, look, it's nice metallic pink, and it's got a nice clear coat going on. But the interior is plain, and the wheels they're goofy looking. But I just like this Bosozoku slam JDM style, and it just looks like a drift car. You know, that'll be running around the back mountain roads of Japan. So that's why I threw that in the mix here. Okay, so thank you CRA Diecast for putting up the challenge. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and you know, stay tuned. A lot of these will have full reviews coming up later on. So I'll see you guys then. Thanks.